Hello, beautiful humans, and thank you so much for joining us today. We are a group of Jay Shetty certified life and success coaches from the inaugural class who have come together with the intention to provide a space for people of color and children of immigrants to share their personal experiences, be seen and feel heard, and to give back to this community through life coaching opportunities. Each episode varies in theme or topic, the coaches involved, and the style, structure, or approach of life coaching. For those of you watching, we hope to demonstrate a sliver of the life coaching process, life coaching tools in action, inspire reflection and learning, and remind you that you are not alone. Enjoy.
Hello everybody, welcome to Coaching and Chill episode 3. We're back here with another exciting episode of getting coaching accessible to you. We have Janice from LA, Heather from Vancouver, Talia from New York, Pri from London, Kusum from Seattle, and I am from Toronto. Welcome, and enjoy the journey. Today we are talking about asking for help and the shame that is attached to it. And I wanted to share this manifesto before we get started. The structure of this call would be 3 of us will be coaching 3 other clients. And it's sort of a fishbowl setting. So you'll see what I mean when we get to it. It's complicated to explain. With that, let me share the manifesto with everybody and let's get started. Does the flower ask the sun if it can bloom? No, and neither should you. You are not a burden or to blame for your pain, and asking for help does not deserve your shame. That's a powerful one. So I'm going to go ahead and kick off this coaching session with my first question to Pri about what he thinks about this powerful passage.
Yeah, I thought it was quite deep. I've got it on my phone over here as well. Like the flower doesn't really ask for permission, and it just cracks on with its life and does what it needs to do. And I feel this is all about like asking for permission to just, I don't know, the way I look at it in regards to like life at the moment. Do I want to continue just like following rules and what people say to me, or do I want to just do me? So that's kind of what I took from it. And I think those first 2 lines kind of summarize everything for me, to be honest. Like the rest of it's more but on a deeper level, but those first 2 just basically stood out for me. Like, do you, Pri? Like the flowers don't really care. Right. So neither should you. Just get on with it.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. What about you, Heather?
I was last. I almost cried when I read it because I'm an emo mother, and yeah, it is very powerful to me. I think what hit me hardest was asking for help does not deserve your shame. As someone that's definitely a doer, and I don't tend to like asking for help. That really was very powerful for me.
Thank you. What about you, Kusum? You're mute.
I'm on mute, of course. For those of you who do not know, my name actually means flower. So that manifesto was as if it was talking to me. I have, for the majority of my life, done things my own way, not sticking to anyone else's rules. I make my own. So that way, I think it's probably, I don't know if it comes from my name, but that's just how I live my life. But when it comes to asking for help, I don't know if any of you resonate with this. For me, it's not so much as asking for help that I have an issue with, but if something needs to get done, I just need to do it my way because I can get it done faster rather than having to rely on other people. So that's what I would say for me.
Thank you all for sharing. That's super powerful, that the interpretation of the poem. And Pri, I want to get back to you, and you mentioned that asking for a permission to be you. When was that like last moment in your life when like whether you experienced that you needed, like you felt like you was looking for permission from others, or even like when was this shift that you realized you don't need the permission to be you?
I think it was a time where this is going to sound so funny and probably not even necessary for this, but it's ringing in my head right now, so I feel like it's relevant. When I was going out with my ex, there was a moment where like when we used to like come around to my house and we stay the night, like my parents in the Asian community finds it a bit weird, like what would other people say if like they hear that you're in the same room and stuff like that. So out of respect, we used to stay downstairs on the sofas. We've got two sofas. I'd have one sofa, she'd have the other sofa. And then I was like, and this was probably in my third year of university because I had a gap year where I was working. And then when I was going back, and then I was like to my dad, I was like, Dad, no offense, like, what do you think we're doing at uni? Do you think we're staying in two separate rooms, or do you think we're staying in the same room? Like, let's be real with it right now. And he was like to me, like, so I felt like I was asking for permission there. And my dad's like, prove it, what are people going to think? And I said, well, just don't tell people then, innit? It's none of their business. Just keep it to yourself, innit? And then I just felt from that moment, he didn't really say anything more towards it. And the next time she came around, I was like, you know what, listen, we're not staying downstairs on the sofa. Just get your shit. We're going upstairs. I don't care. I'm not sleeping on a sofa again. This is too much effort. And then, yeah, I kind of like just broke free from there, I think. I think that's quite relevant.
That's awesome. I'm super happy to hear that. Heather, back to you. So I think that the main part that I heard from your interpretation is that like for you, it's the main that you are not used to asking for help. And like also, like if you look back, where do you think this comes from? This striving for, maybe it's independency or control. What rings here?
It definitely stems from modeling after my mother. She's the exact same way. And it kind of mirrors what Kusum was saying. Sometimes it's just easier to do it myself rather than either needle someone 10,000 times to do it or explain it, or they do it and it's not done like the way that I would normally have it. Not that I'm a control freak per se, but I think it definitely models after my mother because she's the exact same way.
Yeah, that's so common to have our parents as well. We grow up and we watch them and we experience what they do, and that's the easiest and most logical way for us as kids to follow that, and kind of like sometimes it's subconsciously adopting those ways. Well, since like it looks like that you have similar experience with Kusum, and Kusum, back to you. So I like, we know each other, and I want to get back to this, where the attachment to your way, like what is your way and what is this attachment to it comes from?
I don't know where, honestly, I picked up that from, because unlike Heather, I've not seen that in my own home, because neither of my parents are that way. Actually, I'm the only one in my entire family who's that way, as far as I know, right? Who's like always like get to the next thing at hand and just go do it instead of just waiting, overthinking. Because I think that wastes a lot of time, and time is very precious, and that's where I come from. It's not so much as doing it my way, but it's more like I hate to keep asking people for the same thing like 100 times. Instead, I'd rather, like Heather was saying, I'd rather just go do it. And because I'm also not to brag or anything, I also feel like I'm one of those idea creative persons. I can't stop thinking about things, and when I think about something, it needs to get done. Like it needed to get done yesterday. So that's where I come from. So I don't know if I call that attachment or it's just how I have been all these years, but that's where that's how I look at that.
Love it. Okay, I want to go back to, I'm pretty much going to have the same question for all three of you, unless something like aha shifts, but I want to go to the line. You are not a burden or to blame for your pain. Is there a time, you know, in your past that you can remember, or even more recently, where you feel that you've been experiencing pain and sort of held it in for not wanting to be a burden or feel that blame?
So reword that again, just one more time, because I had the answer in my head and
Sure.
it's just gone.
I'll read it to you first. You are not a burden or to blame for your pain. Ooh, and a little rhyme there. Ooh.
You are not a burden or to blame for your pain. Damn. It probably surfaced up where I'm trying to just think, like, the right answer probably should be a topic I don't really want to discuss, but fuck it, it's coaching and chill, so we'll go for it. So I'm kind of like the relationship kind of guy. So when the relationship came to an end with my ex, it was a bit like, okay, cool. Albeit it potentially wasn't my fault. I made myself like the kind of person that just said, yeah, look, I'll take it, I'll accept it, and got on with it. But deep down, it was probably affecting me a lot more than I thought it was. And so like, I held on to that for a long time, and it made me feel like moving forward, and I was trying to date other girls moving forward, that nah, I'm a burden right now. I actually haven't healed from things that were said to me back in the past. So I don't want to be that same person. I still need to heal. I still need to change. I still need to grow. And so moving forward, I probably spent like a while, maybe like speaking to girls or even dating girls, and it just wasn't in the right mind frame. So if that kind of answers it, I probably could have gone way off tangent there. I don't know, but yeah.
Yeah, no, that's great awareness. I heard you pretty much say that you were aware that you were holding on to some emotional baggage from your previous relationships. But also in a way, your awareness of that was holding you back in exploring or being yourself in new relationships.
Yeah, it was, cheers for that, Kusum, you know, just standard interruptions, and that's just how it is. It's what we do it's what we do on Coaching and Chill. It's so good, it's so good. But
it wasn't her, it was Siri.
Reminding me of something. I have no idea.
Alexa has something to say.
Oh yeah, Alexa.
She's chiming in on Coaching and Chill too.
Yeah, no, you hit the nail on the head there, Janice. Like, generally, it was once I realized it, I just took myself off like all dating apps and chatting to girls. I was like, you know what, no, I'm not feeling this right now. Let me just keep working on myself first. And I felt when I was speaking to girls previously that I was actually carrying that burden, and it was like not necessarily doing them justice either, because I wasn't in the right mind frame to take them where they wanted to go in terms of like further relationships down the line and stuff. So yeah, that's me. Done.
That's so respectable. My next question, I don't know if we can be asking all these questions, but I'm doing it. But really quick, my last question is, do you feel like you can't express that you're working on healing yourself in a relationship and work together with someone? Or do you feel that's an not an open-ended
That's
question?
very open-ended. Come on, you know what this is. That's disappointing, guys and girls. She doesn't normally do this.
How could you move into relationships and express your healing and be more open
to the idea that you're not a burden because you are working on healing yourself?
I'm not gonna lie, like becoming a coach and working towards like getting coached from individuals and all of this healing that I've done this year in particular has definitely helped on that front. And if it comes to a position right now where I'm speaking to someone and they ask about the past and stuff, like I'm open about it, and I'll happily say like right now I'm still always working on myself, you know, there's always things I can improve on, but I don't feel now I go in with that burden. I respect the fact that I need to still work on myself, and if I'm not ready, cool, it is what it is. And if I am ready, we just see where it goes. Jeez,
Cool.
this
Thanks
is
for sharing. Ladies, Uncle Pri, look him up. Heather, same question. You are not a burden or to blame for your pain.
Kusum, did you want to go next?
What?
Kusum just said in that
Oh,
she wanted
excuse
to go
me.
in.
No, I was just
Assume.
gonna tell Pri that Pri, speaking from experience, I've been down that path, so I know exactly what you must be going through. Not once, I did go through that multiple times in my early days. Been through shit. I always blamed myself for every breakup that I had, every bad relationship I went through. But in the end, now that I look back, they were all the experience that I needed to become the person who I've become today. And to find the person that I'm married to right now, I had to go through all of those shitty relationships, and it's all worth it. So yes, I feel your pain. I've been there. I thought the world was over and I would never find love again, all that crap. Right? And it's Bollywood. So just so you know, you'll get through this. And yeah, that's all I wanted to add.
thank you.
Well, and then just to add a personal note too, Pri, it's also hopeful for me as someone who is seeking or, you know, looking for my person, that there are men out there who are working on themselves and have that sort of awareness of their past and can bring that into bring that sort of healing into a relationship. So, all right. Kusum, would you like to answer? You are not a burden or to blame for your pain. Or were you just wanting to jump in with that question for Pri?
No, just jump in with that question for Pri, because for me it was the exact same thing. Nothing different for me. The first time that I felt like I was a burden or I was blaming myself was when my first relationship went south. Right? So that's exactly why what Pri was saying resonated with me, and I completely understand what he must be going through or went through at that point of time.
Love it. Heather, where are you experiencing pain and potentially the feeling of blame or burden in regard to it?
When I read that and when you said it, it immediately took me back to just after I went back to work after having my little girl. I was severely unhappy and on the road to pretty bad depression. And I felt like I was a burden, and I felt like I had such shame around feeling the way I felt because I was a new mom and I had so much to be grateful for and so much happiness in so many ways. But there was definitely a space in my life that I was not happy in, and I didn't feel like I didn't feel like I should feel like that, if that makes any sense. Like, it was like I had so much amazing things in my world that I was grateful for, but at the same time, I just felt like crap all the time. So I definitely was like, I didn't want to feel like a burden, and I kept pushing it and kept pushing it and kept pushing it and pushing it away because I just didn't want to face it. And it came down to me breaking, like it completely broke me one day. And I remember the day, it's like a catalyst to the change in my world. But when I look back at that, I definitely feel like I was just packing everything on my back because I felt like I needed to put a brave face on, and I just needed to just keep going. And I wasn't like, I didn't want to be a burden to my family and to my new daughter and all that kind of thing. But it turns out that I was already being kind of not who they needed me to be because I wasn't being myself.
Yeah, I love that. Thanks for sharing. And I don't have kids, but I imagine that's a super, common sort of thing that new moms go through. For those people who may be watching this, would you be able to share some of, you mentioned, what I heard basically is that you hit rock bottom and it took you to get to that point for you to, and then I heard the word catalyst for you to make some sort of change. What did you do to start that journey back up?
It took me stepping back and starting to invest in myself. I was putting absolutely everything into everyone else, my work, my daughter, my husband, the rest of my family, and I was completely ignoring myself and what I needed and who I was. And in the journey between even before I even had her, when I first learned I was pregnant to that time, I started struggling to understand who I was as a person now, because like the old Heather, I felt like there was this perceived idea of what a mom needed to be. And I started implementing what I perceived I should have been. And up until that, up until that day, I was just trying to be someone who I wasn't, because that's who I felt like I needed to be. So I just started reinvesting in figuring out who I was. I started doing a lot of self-discovery. I started doing learning again, which I had completely stopped, besides like learning how to swaddle a baby and change diapers and things like that, how to get by on very little sleep. But I started doing other learning, and that was the biggest thing that I changed. And it was just kind of snowballed after that.
And here you are. So many great nuggets. I will leave more questions to the next coach.
Yeah.
Kusum, you are not a burden or to blame for your pain.
So piggybacking on what I mentioned earlier, and as Heather was talking, I realized, one, I was blaming myself for whatever happened with my relationship, right? I was very young at that time. I was very naive. I didn't know any better. And more than the pain that I was going through at that point of time, I think what felt like a huge burden was that I was putting my parents through all that pain. And I think I don't know why I'm crying now, because this was several years ago. But I still remember my mom was so scared for me that I might do something to myself. She would come and sleep with me in my room. And now that I'm a mom myself, that hits harder and in a different way. I think at that point of time, I hated everything around me because I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know how I wanted to deal with life, or what I wanted to do in life, or I hated pretty much everybody around me at that point of time, including myself. And yeah, so that was probably the first time. And the only time that I actually blame myself or felt like I was a burden, and I learned from that experience, and I now try to shift things around for me. But that phase of getting past that was probably one of my biggest turning points for me. Whew.
Woo! So much love to you.
Thank you, guys. Oh my gosh, I did not know I was going to be the one crying today. I'm need help. And I have no tissues with me. I will blame you for this.
I'll have to make sure we do a Kleenex check before we start these.
I honestly did not think that I was going to be crying today, you guys.
For those of you watching, it's just a testament to you never know where we're going to grow in any given day. Well, I appreciate your being vulnerable, Kusum. I think, you know, what I witnessed or felt was something that Talia just asked, but just like this attachment to, you know, something. So for me, I heard this attachment to maybe like losing yourself with this relationship sort of thing, and you building your new identity, or how are you going to come back from that as your own new Kusum. So what exactly were you feeling like you were a burden or to blame? Was it really with your family, or more with that attachment to the relationship?
I think a little bit of both, because I would say, first of all, I come from a very orthodox traditional family, right? So for those of you who know, falling in love, and especially I was in like early college days at that point of time, is not something that is that was, at least when I was growing up, was not a very common thing. And my parents are very traditional and orthodox, so all of this was happening behind their backs, right? First of all. So I already was carrying that guilt that, you know, somewhere I was betraying my parents in whatever way. And the person that I actually fell in love with was completely the opposite of who I was, in fact, as a person. But as they say, love is blind, or stupid at times. So I feel like I went through that phase of being as stupid as I was in that relationship, because up until that point in my life, I was like very studious, very obedient. My parents loved me, adored me, whatever, right? Like goody two shoes, even though I was always like a rebel and would talk back when something didn't feel right. This was another completely different side of me that I was discovering myself, that I didn't know existed until I fell in love with this guy. And I caught him cheat on me, and that's how it all came to an end. So at that point, up until then, I also got told from friends that, you know, we are seeing him with other girl, blah, 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 whatever. I refuse to believe that, because for me, trust is a huge thing. I say, yeah, it could be his friend or whatever. That's okay. That doesn't bother me. But to be betrayed, I felt stupid that I did not, you know, even for a second think what my friends might be saying probably was true. So it was a combination of all of those different things, that where one, I was not being myself, I was betraying my parents in one way or another, and all for what? For somebody who did not even value our relationship to begin with, if that's what he ended up doing in the end. And I had to find out, and I never even got closure with this relationship, and all of this was my very first experience. So I'd say it was all a combination of those things. I'm like, where did I go wrong? What did I do? And, I mean, did I even do the right thing by doing this? What was all this for, right? Questioning every single thing that I did at that point of time. And And yeah, because I was also very young, I didn't have anybody who I could go talk to or yeah, share this with or ask them, okay, this is what's happening, what am I doing, etc. So it became such that I had to find out for myself what was happening and then figure out what I needed to do on my own to get myself out of that shithole I was in.
Beautiful.
Hi,
Thank you.
Kusum. Thank you for sharing that. I that was very brave of you and very unexpected for every one of us. So for anyone who doesn't know Kusum, he's the rock star of this family. He's like the strongest pillar we have. So this strength that we saw right now of vulnerability was very refreshing, and I thank you for it.
And to be very honest, Shafaq, I have to give the strength that you guys see otherwise all started coming from that experience that I had, right? So that's where I started to build myself one step at a time. So that's where that strength comes from. And that's exactly what I was telling Priya earlier, that, hey, the person I am right now, it all started there. If that didn't happen, I wouldn't be who I am today. So yeah, I can't take all the credit. I'll give some credit to all the bad things that have happened in my life.
I can completely, now we can see that. Like, where does she get it from? Now we know. So there are a lot of threads that I want to pull, but I'm going to start with one. And that is keeping to our topic of shame and guilt. Where do you think you felt shame and where do you think you felt guilt? Because they're two different things.
Guilt, I would say, especially with my parents, because I always felt like I let them down, right? So that's where the guilt part comes into play. As far as shame goes, I think it was towards my own self, because I had become this completely different, not entirely completely different person, but as I was saying, I was this goody two shoes and, you know, very studious, blah, blah, blah. And then if people actually saw me, they'd probably be shocked to see that, oh, this girl is bunking classes and she's, you know, forget classes, bunking tests and exams and things like that. So, but when everything went downhill, I'd say that a shame towards what I was doing and not having anything to show for it, that yes, I did all of these things, but for what? For a person who cheated on me and walked away from me. I think that was like that is what I was ashamed of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. And I have a follow-up question, but for people who are watching, this is what I'm picking up here is that guilt is associated with things that you do or mistakes that you made, but shame is associated with what you feel about yourself as an individual, as your identity. And so those are two very different things, if somebody wanted clarification. But for you, Kusum, just a follow-up question. You mentioned that you never had closure from that experience. And so I want to check in to see what have you done to get that closure yourself so far?
One is, I would say, never had closure in the sense what I meant to say, just to clarify, is we never really said that, oh, we are breaking up with each other and walked away. Mm-hmm. In my head, we were kind of, you know, taking a step back and seeing how things were going. And in his head, he had moved on, right? And during that time is when I actually caught him cheating on me, right? So again, we didn't have a follow-up discussion or conversation. I found out what I found out. I validated that what I found out was actually true, and I was not, you know, just taking things on the surface level for what I saw. So I validated that with the girl, to be very honest. And yeah, after that, he and I never really had a conversation. So I don't even know when the last time, what conversation we even had when we were still talking to each other. So that's what I meant by I never really got closure, because yeah, we never said that, hey, we're done with each other, whatever, walked away. But for me, in terms of closure, this is very interesting, it's coming up now, is because I never got that, I've always had in my head that one day, I don't know if this guy will watch this, and this is how I felt towards him. Right? In my head, I always had this vision of, if and when I ever meet you in my life, I want to slap you for what you put me through. That's all, right? I want to slap you, and that's my closure. Because only I know what I dealt with for like a year or two following that, whatever happened, right? But not too long ago, very recently, I was sharing this with somebody, and this might sound woo to many of you listening to this, but I guess I forgave him in my dreams when I wasn't even trying. In my dreams, I saw that he and I were having a cup of coffee, exchanging notes about where we are in life and what we are doing. So that was probably my closure. And I've not thought about this guy in like ages. Something came up during a conversation, I think in November or December. And that night I went to bed and I got my closure, even without trying. I didn't know I needed it. So, yeah.
I'm gonna leave the follow-up to another coach. I wanna go to Heather for a second. Heather, if I note down what you said that you were finding who you are with the whole situation and taking out more and not keeping a brave face and not being a burden. Where have you gotten in that journey? What do you know about yourself now?
The biggest realization that I came to is that I can be, just because you become a mother doesn't mean you have to change who you actually are. And that's the misconception that I had, is that I had to be this like picture perfect mom that does everything and has to have a clean house and eat healthy meals every single meal. And I have to be like that perfect mom. So, and I felt like I needed to be a mom all the time too. Like I had to absolutely obsess about my daughter and I had to do all the things for her. And it was like, but that's not who I was before I had her. I was I've always been a pretty easygoing person and not obsessive and not like, I don't know, I've been fun. I've been light. I like to giggle and be silly. And I lost that. I completely lost it when I had my daughter for some weird reason. I was just like this mom robot. And the realization was that I could be who I was before, but just now with this great little person that I get to love and have fun with all the time. So yeah, that was the biggest learning and lesson for me, is that I didn't have to be anyone else but who I was.
And keeping with the topic of asking for help, was there any support that you reached out for during this time?
Absolutely. It came down to me asking for help almost every day and allowing me the time to take care of myself and allowing me the space to do the self-discovery and the work that we all do. I mean, I can't read a great book. I can't listen to a podcast. I can't journal and do my yoga meditation with this little person next to me all the time. So I needed to ask for help from my husband to be like, give me some time, let me go away. So, and asking for help from friends too, just to be that sounding board and having someone to talk to and finding the right people to talk to was really key for me, because my friend circle before I had my little girl remains single without children. And they just, I love you all, but you just don't get it. So,
I'm not trying to get it. I'm not trying to get it.
So I had to find some people that got it, that understood. And that's still something that I'm working towards, but I'm definitely closer than I was before.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Pri, thank you for being vulnerable again. I know you don't like talking about these things, these deep things, but we get you. I want to shift the mood a little bit with you and not go deeper in that, even though I can. And
Can
I
we
would
make him
love to.
cry? Let's make him cry.
Unfortunately, we don't have enough time to make me cry on this
Ah,
episode,
damn
but
it.
potentially in the
Don't
future.
challenge us. Don't challenge us. We didn't know we would make Kusum cry, but we did.
Yeah. Welcome to
I-
2021, folks. Welcome to 2021.
Hey, you guys, for the record, I have no issues crying, but I didn't know I was going to do that today after reading
Yes.
that manifesto. So, Pri, don't be too overconfident, all right?
I wanna ask you. You talked about burden and how you were going on dating other people, and you felt like it's a burden for you right now that you don't want to do and just want to be by yourself.
It was a burden.
Sorry?
It was a burden. It's no longer a burden.
Right. Good for you. We celebrate you. So when that shift happened, where did you go to seek help where you didn't feel like a burden?
Where did I go to seek help where I didn't feel like a burden? And so this is probably all kicked off before like I even joined the coaching school, but like I have I'm gonna say like a long-term life coach who lives next door to me. So she's my next door neighbor, and she's basically known me since I was 1. And I've realized like over the last maybe 6 or 7 years, we've become so close now. She's just always there for me. So I always had her there to go to, like to just speak to, like if I was ever pissed off or anything, just go for a walk, pick up the phone, call her, and she'd just speak to me for like an hour. And she actually could be a coach, to be honest. That's the worst thing. She basically wouldn't say anything. She'd just hear me out. She'd maybe probe in with a few questions here and there, but there's no judgment or nothing. So it became quite comfortable to speak to her about everything and anything. And it wasn't just like relationships and stuff, like anything that was kicking off in my life, just call her. And obviously before COVID, just go there, have a cup of tea with her, chill with her, go get her dinner, she'll get me dinner and stuff like that. So it's, yeah, I've always had her there as a support system.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And how did that translate into you getting your closure?
So, shit question. Okay, so basically, I've been this guy where I've kind of like, I take things on board and I just get on with it myself. And obviously through these NLP sessions that we did, one of the limiting beliefs that came up was this whole concept of not being worthy. Don't smile. I'm not going to go deep into it because we haven't got much time. But the reality
I asked the question.
Reality of it is that I told myself I could accept the way the relationship ended and just get on with it, and I didn't need closure. And it took me a while. I think that one NLP session where I lost it, I went off camera and I just spoke to Mira alone. I was like, yo, this isn't cool anymore. Like, I've accepted it because I feel unworthy. And really and truly what I want to do is actually say everything that was going on through my mind for like the last year and a bit that I've kept in the back of my mind and just like sat with. And reality of it is I don't want that to be there anymore. So I did my own thing. I've like done like an exercise where you do like a forgiveness letter, do all of this kind of stuff. And yeah, that's about that. So have I got closure yet? I am probably 99% of the way there. But I feel good. So we don't need to go deep. That's that. Done.
And for those of you, pre-mentioned Mira, who is a superstar, and she's our supervisor in the certification school that we're all from, and she did NLP sessions for the 6 of us. That's how we became a family.
Unfortunately.
You love us, Pri.
Oh, come on, Pri. You love
Don't
us.
even. Look at this smile on his face. He loves to be the only guy.
A face and expression, say it all, Pri. Hide all you want.
Yeah.
With your words.
Wifey
His
has to
harem of
deal with all of
bitches.
We're gonna get you say that you love us one day.
Yeah, one day.
Okay. Anyway, moving on. Talia, whenever you're ready.
Moving on. So as we are closing this powerful and inspiring conversation, and well, first of all, I want to really, really like express my appreciation for every one of you, and how, yes, like that, the we word, the vulnerability that you showed today really warms my heart, and just like the trust and the courage that you showed us, like just an applause. Thank you. So as closing, like my last question will be in one sentence, and this is the same question to all of you. I guess we'll start with Pri because Pri. What is your main takeaway from our conversation today in one sentence? And what are you going to do based on that takeaway? And doing is not anything that like doing, it can be like thinking, being inclusively.
I think like if I personally, I don't let that story come up. It's only if it gets asked, then it's the quick reminder. So I think I've definitely put it to bed, at least 99% of the way I put it to bed. But what I could do moving forward is probably share this with like my Instagram, or share it with people. I think it's quite powerful. So I think what I'm going to do, take away from it, is share this message with people who I feel can definitely resonate with it, not just us lot and everyone else who watches it, but all my followers and everyone that I feel that this message can resonate with. So that is my takeaway. That is my action point.
Definitely. I should do it after sharing this call. Stories is very powerful, and it can help others for sure.
It's also healing. You're healing yourself while healing others, because we're all one. Spirituality.
Kusum?
I'd say the same as what Pri said. So last year, one of my biggest takeaways has been through my experience, I very quickly move on from dealing with something. I master that competency and it becomes a very unconscious thing for me, where I don't even acknowledge that that's what's happening, because it becomes a part of who I am. And I just assume that people around me know, but it's not the case. Something that's my strength is not necessarily a strength for everyone else. And I need to be more, this was an action point for me from last year, which I'm still trying to get better at day after day, is operate from a place of conscious competency instead of being unconscious about it. So that's kind of what I will continue to do with whatever we just shared and discussed here.
This is awesome. Thank you, Kusum. That's a great tip for everyone, I think. Heather, what do you like to share?
I think the biggest takeaway for me is, with all of our stories, albeit very different, the reality of our growth came from vulnerability for each one of us. And we each had to be vulnerable with our feelings and our emotions. And in order for us to move forward, we have to face them. We can't hide them, and we can't bury them behind our shame and our fear and our misbeliefs, misconceptions of who we feel we need to be. And I feel like that's the biggest message, is that I'm just going to share that, Kusum, your emotions today blew me away. And I'm so grateful that I was a part of that. Like, I don't feel like I've ever really seen that from you before. So I just wanted to say thank you so much for sharing and being vulnerable, and Pri, hearing your message about your breakup and how hard that was for you. I think that's amazing. But seeing that you're able to like completely face it and understand that you still have so much to go through and so much to face around that, to learn and grow. And hopefully my message around being a new mom and the struggles around that can help someone as well. But it all just came down to us really understanding and facing our vulnerability.
This is like a great summary, I think. You asked your question, but you really summarized what we did today.
Well, that's my job today. So
amazing, and I absolutely agree and sign up for that. Yes, like to overcome our shame, we need to step into vulnerability space, and to step into vulnerability space, we need to find that courage within us. But you have it within you. We are resourceful, we are whole, we are complete, we are creative human beings. And everyone who is listening, definitely it applies to them.
Awesome. So thank you again, everybody, for sharing with such an open heart. To summarize the summary, we went through asking for help and the shame associated with it, and then how it's different from guilt and how we all experience it. And we think that we're all in this alone, but we're all kind of suffering alone instead of asking for help and at least suffering together, if not alone. So that's my biggest takeaway from this, that I have my own issues asking for help, and my takeaway is that we're all having these issues at some point in our lives, and we just need to talk to someone who is non-judgmental, doesn't belittle you for your suffering, and just listens. So thank you for watching this episode. We're gonna be back with another episode next week, and I hope you enjoyed this one. Please share the feedback with us in the comments section. Thank you. Bye.
If any part of these sessions resonate with you, please subscribe to this channel, like, comment, or share this episode with someone you think will benefit. We hope you find these sessions valuable, and we are most definitely open to feedback so that we can serve you better and increase our impact and reach. We want you to know how much we love and appreciate you.